What's up, everybody? This is Johnny Basement, and we're back here in the basement for the preliminary final between the Port Adelaide Power and the Sydney Swans. Before we get into this amazing game, subscribe, bell notice, hit the like button, drop your comments down below, and we'll get into this right now. I just finished watching the recording of this game. I'll tell you what, the score doesn't reflect what the first half showed. That's what I can tell you. Before I can even get into that, I've seen in some comments along the way, which I never knew, a lot of you guys know this is my second season with footy. Just my second. I knew nothing about it before last year. So I don't. Is there a rivalry between rugby and footy? Is there a rivalry there? I've had a couple of comments from people, hey man, you need to check out rugby, which I don't mind doing. I haven't done it yet, which I don't mind getting into that, and I'll check it out, and I have no problem with it. But some people have called footy aerial ping pong. Is that right? Aerial ping, like I'm watching the wrong sport. I should be watching rugby. I love footy. The athleticism is absolutely incredible. I would think that they're two different sports, are they not? I mean, like I've seen some clips of rugby. It just looks like two different sports completely. I don't know enough about rugby to compare one to the other, but is this a thing over there? Is there rugby fans that hate footy and footy fans that hate rugby? I'm just starting to see some comments here and there. They weren't hateful comments. They weren't anything that was nasty toward me or anybody else, but they're like, you need to check out rugby. You're watching too much aerial ping pong. There was other names they were calling for footy, but aerial ping pong was the one that stuck out of my mind. That was an interesting name. Give me a little background on this. Is there like a real rivalry between these two sports? Are the fans of these two sports? Because to me, from what I've seen from rugby and now footy, they just look like two different sports entirely. I don't know, because I'm going to start checking out some rugby and see what that's all about. And, well, anyway, that was a sidebar. I don't know enough to comment. Either way, I'm not experienced enough to make those. I just thought that comment, I saw it more than once, that aerial ping pong was a little interesting. So anyway, guys, this game started out, since the Swans revenge tour, that's what I'm going to call this. They lost by 112 points, I believe, off the top of my head, to Port Adelaide, when Port Adelaide was on a tear. They had won like 6 in a row when they came in to the finals, finishing 2 on the ladder. Swans were number 1 on the ladder. What an epic battle between two top teams going at each other, and one that got humiliated. The Swans did get humiliated by them during that 6-game winning streak. I believe it was in round 21, again, off the top of my head, round 21, somewhere around there. So anyway, Swans were on a revenge tour, but they came out in this game more like feeling it out. We're not going to get too aggressive. We're not going to lay back too much. We're going to feel out the power and see where we are, because it was 6-0 power for a little while. Not too long, but for a little while. And it just seemed like the Swans were starting to spread out a little bit, starting to try to cut to the corridor. But when the power, Aliir for the power, I think he played for the Swans at one time also. But he broke up a few plays on defense, man. That guy is Johnny on the spot. He really is. And I saw him earlier, in earlier matches during the season, where this guy is a really good player, man. Why did the Swans give this guy up? Anyway, he broke up a couple of offensive rushes by the Swans in the beginning. They just didn't seem to okay, they broke it up, let's get right back. The Swans all right, let's just get right back. They didn't want to capitalize right away in the beginning. It just seemed like, like 2 boxes coming out. I've used this analogy before. 2 boxes coming out, and they're feeling each other out. The Swans just looked like, okay, we got down the field, let's just drop back. Okay, we got broken up, let's just drop back. Because it just seemed to be 6-0 for maybe the first 5 to 8 minutes. And then they started bringing it on a little bit. That first quarter was very close, guys. I think it ended in 24-15 Swans. Amarty was Johnny on the spot today. Amarty was really good player today. He was all over the field. Today. He kicked one in the first quarter there to put it up 12-6. Now, 11 minutes left. I saw this swing tackle penalties are becoming pretty big. The sling tackles are becoming pretty big. It's kind of like the NFL now. If anything looks a little egregious, well, we're just going to blow the whistle. In the NFL, they throw the flag. They throw too many flags. It's a different story for a different day. But I see this sling tackle now, and it seems to be getting whistled more in the finals. It seems like this has become more of a thing in the finals than it was utilized during the season. I also feel it's situations, and I also feel the refs have their favorites. I feel that's the way it is in all sports. And when they think, and when they're given the power to be subjective, it's up to me to think if this was a egregious penalty or not. Well, so I swear to you, sometimes I really think, do I like this? Has this guy ever talked crap to me in the past? Do I like this guy? Do I not like this guy? I'm sorry, but I do. We're all human, and I think there's human emotions come into play no matter what the sport is. Footy, basketball, hockey, baseball, football, what have you. It happens, and there's similar things that happen to other players that they never get called on. But anyway, that sling tackle of Marty got called on in the beginning didn't really look to be that egregious to me. But I see that they were a lot quicker to whistle in the finals than they have been during the season. That's just my opinion in my sole beginnings of watching footy. Anyway, the end of that first, gang tackled on Narkle. Number 42 for the Power, I believe it was Narkle is his name. Am I correct on that? I think so. What a play to right at the siren. About 4 seconds left. Huge tackle. Huge tackle. They were only up 18-15. Huge gang tackle. And Papley ends up with the ball. Puts it through after the siren at the quarter's end. And Willie Rioli, little cheap shot there on Papley as he walked past him. Again, human emotion. Gave him a little cheap shot, pushing, shoving the whole way. I'm like, man, we are in for a battle. We're in for a battle here in this one. This is going to be a great, great game. Look at that, 24-15 Swans, the end of the first quarter. But, man, it was a fight all the way through. Even into the second quarter, you guys know I take my notes. I watch and take my notes. Even through the second quarter, they were spreading the field. Marty, if you remember this, Marty started slowing it down. It seemed like the Swans were clustering up too much. They looked like they were all in the same area at the same time. How can you distribute the ball around if everybody's all clustered together? I use hockey analogies a lot. If all of my wings and my centers are all over here chasing the puck, well, when we get it, who are we going to pass it to? All the defenders, everybody's right here. Marty was about to kick the ball or hand pass it to one of his other teammates right in front of him, then said no. He backed up. Let's slow this down. He backed up, kicked it over to, I believe, Cunningham, kicked it across the field. Spread them out. Now we're going to spread the defense out. Then he kicks it up to, I forgot his name. Sorry, guys. Kicked it up to Logan McDonald. Right down the field. So it was like boom, boom. Spread the power defense out. When everybody was clustered, Marty, heads on. Spread it out. Right down the field, goal. Now they were starting to get into a plan of attack. Now they were starting to move a little bit. But the Power answered right back. They didn't fold there. They answered right back and made it 31-22. See what I mean? Like, I thought this game was going to come down to be a nail-biter. I really did. The Swans never lost their composure, though. That's what I noticed. They never lost their composure. Said, all right, we're going to kind of start drifting back again. They never played that prevent defense, which I hate prevent defenses. Prevent defenses mean one thing. You prevent yourself from winning. We do it over here. It happens all the time. You had your foot on the gas the whole game. Everything was working, and now we got to protect this lead, so everybody drop back. Nobody make a mistake. Don't be over-aggressive. Don't be over-playing a play. Then what happens? We're going to give up a little bit. Well, the other team starts taking what you're giving them. They take what the defense gives them, and all of a sudden they're moving right down the field. It happens, guys, and that's what started to happen. The Swans were trying to avoid that from happening, man. So Marty again scored another goal, made it 37-22. I also noted this as well. After the siren at quarter end, at the half end, Rioli was getting a goal. Heads up by a couple of Swans players that tipped that ball and made it a rush behind instead of a goal, because that was going to be a goal. That was another heads up play by the Swans. That's keeping a balanced offense and defensive mindset in playing a game to where the last time you met this team, you got your doors blown off by 112 points. This is a balanced half. It came out, forget it. The second half, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I didn't even see that coming. And by the end of the third quarter, man, it was 85-45, a 40-point lead. I was going to turn the game off there. And I said, wait a minute. The Lions came back the previous week down by 44 to the Giants. But that was with 8:27, something like that, left in the third quarter. They were down by 44. By the end of the third quarter, they were only down by 25. Now, the Swans were up by 40 at the end of that third quarter, but I wanted to watch because I've seen great comebacks in my sports. I've seen unbelievable comebacks in my sports. I went over a few of them. One of my last videos. I'm not going to go over them all again, but I've seen some like, wow, where did that come from? The most famous one is the Super Bowl with the Patriots beating the Falcons when they were down by 25 halfway through the third quarter. That's a lot in football. A lot. What happened? The Falcons went into prevent defense and blew that game. There's many other reasons why they blew that game, but that's neither here nor there. So, what I noticed at the end of this game, the Swans just took over. The Power looked like they were just going through the motions at the end of the game. They were just going through the motions. I don't know what happened. That game was close. It was tight, but it just seemed like when the Swans killed that Rioli kick at the end of the first half, when they made that a rush behind instead of a goal, which it definitely was going to be, it was right on the line. It seemed from that moment forward, it kind of seemed like the Power came out in the second half a little deflated. And it just went downhill from there. So I took a couple notes here at the end of the game. Not one quarter did the Power win. 15 was the most they scored in any quarter, and they won the fourth quarter 14-10, but at that point it really didn't matter. Big shout out. I got a couple of shout outs here. One to Luke Parker, man. After Aliir, when I mentioned the highlights of him in the beginning of the game, big shout out to him for shutting Aliir down. That's not an easy task from what I've seen. This guy is a baller. He's a great defenseman. The guy is awesome at getting that ball and knocking, spoiling plays. Really, he really is. So, Luke Parker defended him extremely well, and of course, Amarty and Papley had 3 goals apiece. Now, I found another interesting note. Is this true? I want to make sure I look this up. This is the first time Longmire's Swans have beaten the Power since 2015? Is that true? Is that since 2015 in the finals, or is it in any match during the season and or the finals? It just said that it was Longmire's first time, the announcer said it, beating the Power since 2015. Now, I didn't catch if he was talking about the finals or if he was talking about in general. They just haven't beaten them since 2015. If they haven't beaten them since that long, that is unbelievable. And Hinckley, he holds the record now for most games without a grand final appearance. He holds the record of most games without a grand final appearance. He has lost 3 preliminary finals in 14, 20, and 21. Now, we have had coaches over here that were amazing coaches. And the first one that came to mind when I saw that stat is a man named Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer was one of the greatest regular season coaches you'll ever come across. Guy would win 12 games, 14 games. Now, this is at a 16-game season, so he'd be like, 12-4, 14-2. He'd have these massive teams. And he'd get into the playoffs and lose. 2 years in a row, he lost to John Elway and the Broncos, 1986 and 87 playoff year and 88 playoff year. Fumbles, just a massive mistakes by the team. And guys like him, he never made the Super Bowl. But you would hire him as your coach in a heartbeat because he gets players to win. He gets players to buy in, which is what I assume Hinckley does as well, man, to be that 3 preliminary finals and lost all 3. I thought of Marty Schottenheimer, who lost 2 AFC championship games, which is the game right before you make the Super Bowl. And he lost 2 of them. One was a John Elway 2-minute comeback. Last 2 minutes of the game with no timeout, boom, came all the way down the field. Lost that one. And the final one, his running back on the game-winning touchdown. He forgot the ball. He fumbled it on the goal line. And that was the last play of the game. Poor Ernest Biner. I'll never forget that. Anyway, guys, that was an incredible one. Now, revenge tour for the Swans. Will it continue? The 2022 Grand Final was the first Granny I ever watched. That was before I even entered my first season last year, and they lost to the Cats 133-52. Not to bring that up, Swans fan, but I'm bringing it up. Is this going to be a revenge tour? But that's if the Cats get past the Lions. Are they going to get past the Lions? No, they're not. Unless they do. We'll see, man. That Cats-Lions game, I'm looking so forward to it. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would understand tipping the Cats. But who the hell knows, man? The Lions have that chip on their shoulder from losing a close one last season. Losing that granny by this much. I think that's what pushed them through against the Giants, and I think that's what's going to push them through against the Cats. What do I know? I'm only in my second season of footy. Anyway, guys, thank you to everybody, all the great Aussies that always help me out. You guys know who you are. I've shouted you out plenty of times on here. Thank you so much for introducing me to this wonderful, incredible, athletic game of footy. I'm really enjoying it all. I'll see you on the next video, which will be Lions Cats. I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm Johnny Basement. Subscribe, bell notice, like button, and I am out.